Hi, my name is Lexi Jong, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to take a look at Sydney Grace eyeshadows. So I actually purchased these a while ago and just got around to kind of playing with them. I've been wearing them every day for a week now to kind of get a good feel for them. And I do have a little clip here of what the packaging was like. Hi, so let me show you how these Sydney Grace shadows that I purchased came packaged. So again, I only bought singles and they came in this size shipping box that held 2 of these. So they fit pretty well in there, and then there was just a little tissue paper on top. So packaging was not excessive, which is good. And then each of these little boxes, there was a little bit of tissue paper at the top, so it's about this thick. And then I had a variety of shadows here, and there's a little tissue paper at the bottom for cushioning as well. All right, so each shadow, see, I've already been putting things into my palette. These are all in magnetic pans. So this is an Adept palette. So I have some Surratt on one side, and then this plastic divider here. And on this side, I'm keeping some Sydney Grace. And this is my first purchase. So far I've unboxed these. I have one blush, and then I have these shadows so far. And I just wanted to show you how each of the individual ones came packaged because I really like this. So the package is the same for each of them. It is not like color coded. You can't see the color name on the outside of the package. The ingredients are listed on the back. Okay, and then when you open this up, you pull out this little card, and this is like the laminated cardboard. And just see this. This is the little window that you were seeing through, just a little piece of, plastic like on an envelope here. And then this shadow lifts out, and on the back you have the name. So this one is You, Only Better. So I just wanted to just show you real quickly before I took everything out of the package so you could see how they come delivered. So thanks. So these do come in a magnetic pan, and I've been storing them in an Adept Cosmetics palette. So on one side right now I have my Surratt, this side I have Sydney Grace. I purchased one of the blushes and then several eyeshadows. So following this, I do have quite a few eye looks if you are interested in looking at any of those. So there will be timestamps down below. Okay, so let's start off with the blush. So this was actually my second choice for blush. The first one I wanted was sold out. So I figured I really wanted to try one. So I got this, and this is the shade Daydream. On the computer screen, it looked more pink than it does here. So I was a little unsure how it would work for me. And to be honest, I don't think it is the best shade for me. So you can see that it is, kind of like this nude peachy clay type of color. There's maybe like a tinge of dusty rose mixed into that. But it can get a little bit of a coppery look to it as well. And it has this really beautiful sheen when you shear it out. So you still see that. The color is just a little bit too deep for me. So even applied very lightly, it's not a great shade for me. But the blush formula itself wore very well, and I had no issues with the blush formula. So Sydney Grace is a great company to get a variety of textures and finishes at a very affordable price. So the eyeshadows for the powder version, they typically range between $5 and $6 each. And there are a ton of different color options, duochromes, multichromes, and so forth. Now she has some like really gorgeous looking cream multichromes that I really wanted to get, but they were out of stock. So I have not purchased any of those yet, and I figured go ahead and try the powder ones first. So some of these are pressed pigments, some of them are shadows of different formulations. So you can kind of look at the different categories on the website. So let's go ahead and start swatching. So this is Velvet, which is a pressed pigment, and you get 1.8 grams in here. So these have a very nice velvety texture. So this is Velvet. And then we have Milk and Cookies, which is a shimmer shade. And you can see it's got that really nice sheen there. Drift is a matte shade. And it's got a slight peachy-ish look to it, but it's pretty much ivory with a tint of peach. And this is another matte. This is Cool Brown. All right, so let's go ahead and swatch these. Okay, so you can see the pressed pigment is going to be very sparkly, very shimmery. The shimmer is going to be a little bit more satin-like, and then you've got these mattes, which are a very creamy matte. Moving on, we have Tiara, which is one of my absolute favorite shades that I purchased. I mean, it's so useful. I think it's a really pretty color. And then we have Frosted Morning, which is also a pressed pigment. Recruit, again, a pressed pigment. And look at that. It's like a beautiful, like olivey khaki green, but it's got a really nice undertone to it. So I really love this. And then we have, sorry, these are kind of hard to hold on to and read at the same time. So we've got Somber, which is a shimmer shade. So that's right there. All right. There we go for those. And I mean, you can see Tiara, it is gorgeous. And, you know, actually all four of these colors are ones that they've kind of gone into my favorite category here. But yes, this green and Tiara. So this is Recruit, the green. It's just, they're phenomenal. I love those colors. Okay, so let's move on. We have Gold Earth, which is a pressed pigment. You can see that here. So it's green with a really gold undertone. We have Defiance, another pressed pigment, and this one is a bit more brown. We have Herky Bird, again, a pressed pigment. And look at that green. So it's kind of like a deeper version of Recruit. And another pressed pigment, this is Palm Trees. That's this right here. So it's a really beautiful emerald green. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to move on to swatching on my other arm. And the first shade is Matte Thrilled. So here is matte, and it's a really nice deep teal. The next shade is a pressed pigment. This is called Midnight Green. Here's that. And then we have another pressed pigment called Fierce. And look at this, it's like a blue purple. So that's, you know, I love blues and purples. So this one here, I mean, you can see how iridescent this is just in the pan. Actually, it's not showing up on the camera as much as it is in person, but beautiful blue and purple shift here. Another pressed pigment, this one is called Beauregarde. And this one is more of a topper shade. So you can see that, you know, it really, you can sheer it out. All right. So here are those. Let's see here. Okay, so just so you know, my fingers are stained. I haven't been able to get this off. I did try to wash it off, but it's not coming off easily, so it shouldn't interfere with any of the color. Next up, we have another matte shade called Officer, and that is here. It's kind of like a dusky brownish purple. Then we have a pressed pigment called Mythical, and this is a really pretty lavender. Next up, we have Four Winds, again, pressed pigment. And you can you see the shade in there? There's like blue, purple, pink. And next we have Rushed, another pressed pigment. And then last but not least, we have You, Only Better. And again, pressed pigment. All right, so let's go ahead and swatch these. Go. This last one is You Only Better. So just one thing to note with the You Only Better, I don't know if it's really showing up as well in here, but it's a really deep eggplant purple with a little bit of pink or fuchsia type sparkle in there. So I don't think that's really picking up on the camera, but there is a little bit of sparkle in there. Okay, so those are the swatches of all of the shades that I purchased. Now I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on these products, and then if you are interested in the eye looks, stay tuned for those. And again, there will be timestamps to kind of divide those up. Okay, so I think the Sydney Grace shadows are an excellent product. So I really like them. You know, I did purchase a lot of pressed pigments, which, you know, I don't have a ton of pressed pigments from other brands. One thing to note with all of the shadows in general is you can experience fallout with these if you use them dry, particularly with the pressed pigments. You know, they're not as tightly bound. You know, the material itself is not as tightly bound. So I did experience a little bit of fallout. It wasn't anything significant, but it is something to mention that I experienced it with the primer. And well, with both primers, I used the Anastasia Beverly Hills primer one day. I used the Guerlain Ice Stay primer. And I've also tried without a primer. So I did experience a little fallout with those. When I used the Inglot Duraline, or I used just a wet, you know, wet with water eyeshadow brush, I did not have any fallout from them. So just something to note. Another thing I wanted to note is that the wear time. So both with and without a primer, they wore very well for about 4 to 5 hours. They pretty much stayed exactly the way that I put them on. But around the 4 to 5 hour mark, I started to notice not really creasing, like the actual eyeshadow stayed there, but some of the glitter particles in there were kind of creasing. So the actual eyeshadow pigment stayed present and stayed there. I never had any like skin showing through, but I did have like some bunching of pigment particles that kind of slid out of my crease and down a little bit. So I would recommend using either a wet brush or something like the Inglot Duraline or the you know, a glitter glue or adhesive to kind of keep the particles where you apply them for a longer period of time. However, if you're not really concerned about the longevity of your eye look, you know, using them dry, the actual intensity of the pigment didn't really change with using them dry versus wet. So, you know, they pretty much just look super pigmented all the time. The amount of sparkle and the shimmer, you know, that didn't change really either. So I think overall they're a beautiful formula. I can't stop looking at them when I wear them. Like I love to just go in the mirror and just kind of look. That sounds super vain, but you know, I just love to look at the color shifts. So just something to note, you know, if you're interested in playing around with eyeshadows, I would definitely recommend testing out some of the beautiful like color shifts and bright colors that you can get from an indie brand before you actually go ahead and purchase something more expensive, you know, if you're looking for, you know, colors to play with that you don't typically play with. And I think Sydney Grace shadows are an excellent option. Honestly, they go on so nicely and so smoothly that they are comparable to some other brands that I have used. And it's a very creamy feeling. This shade here, this velvet shade, the white shimmer, I mean, like it feels like a cream to powder shadow. It's very, very smooth. And a lot of the other ones do as well. So, you know, I think in general, they just have a really nice formula. So those are my thoughts on the shadows. So do I think they're worth it? Yes, I do. So I definitely really like them. Am I going to like switch to buying like indie brands or Sydney Grace eyeshadow exclusively because the price lures me in and so forth? No, I'm not. I still really enjoy getting like the pre-made palettes and, you know, formulas from other brands and so forth. But these are definitely something that, you know, I would potentially purchase more colors in the future. And, you know, I really like them. So I think overall, they're definitely a worthy investment. All right, so If you are interested, stay tuned for the eye looks. And if not, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to do a really light and natural eye look. This is the shade Drift, and I'm going to start off with the Sonia G Crease Pro. And I'm just getting a little bit on my brush, and I am going to build it up in my crease. I'm going just up under the brow. I'm going to take the Smith Cosmetics 253 brush. This is the small arrowhead, and this is the shade Tiara. This is going on the inner half, and I'm tapping this on. Wiping this off, I'm going into Recruit with the same brush. And this is going on the outer half. Just tapping a little bit of Recruit here right along the midline. And I'm wiping the brush off. And going back into Tiara just a little bit to tap over that midline as well, so the two colors kind of blend a little bit. Taking the crease brush, no additional shadow, but just blending the edges here. And for liner, I'm going in with the Chantecaille eyeliner in Olive Brocade. Smudging that in a little bit. And this is the Sonia G Smudger 1. I'm going back into Recruit, just a little bit on the tip, and I'm smudging this on the lower lash line. Wiping the brush off, I'm going into Tiara for the inner half under my eyes. Overlapping just a tad. Okay, so this is the finished eye look. And again, just light and natural, only 3 colors. Okay, so this is the final look from afar. And you can see when I move my eyes that although these are not duochromes, the area in the middle where I layered the 2 colors, when the light hits them, you can see glimmers of both the more golden champagne shade and the green. So I really like how being layered, they're still translucent enough that you can see both shades. So that's it. Okay, so I kind of forgot to start filming this eye look, but today I am testing it without any primer, and so far I've just laid a little bit of the Cool Brown, which is a matte shade, in the crease of this eye, and I'm going to do the other one now. I'm using the Sonia G Worker Pro. Okay, next I'm going to take the Synergy Builder Pro and this blue shade here. This is called Fierce. And I'm going to put this on the inner portion. And I'm just going to kind of press it. It's like a bluish purple. Actually, it's looking more purple on my eye. Wiping off this brush, I'm now going to go into the outer third with the shade Rushed, which looks to be a purple. I'm trying to leave a gap in the middle. Okay, I'm wiping this brush off. I'm now going to go in with this shade. It's like a blue purple duochrome. It looks like it's called Beauregarde. And this is going in the middle. So I'm tapping over the edges of the other two colors. I'm going to apply the same color with my finger. Okay, so I need to clean this up a little bit. I didn't really get too much fallout. I did have a little bit. This side I have a little bit more, but I did forget to tap my brush the one time, so I think part of it's from that. But I definitely did get some fallout here. So I'm going to take the Esom G34, and I'm just going to get a little bit of powder on here to make it a little smoother. This is the Milk and Cookies. And I'm just getting a little bit here on the tip of the brush, and I'm going to go into the crease. Just kind of smear all of these so they get a little bit lighter as they move up, with a little bit more of a milkier look, essentially. So I'm just taking a folded, this is like one of the little cotton, well, it's not a cotton round, I think this is bamboo, but I'm just folding it in half and kind of cleaning up a little bit there. So I made a bit of a mess. And ideally you would do this with like lotion or, you know, maybe some micellar water or something on it, but I am not. So, and let me just go in here one more time. I didn't add anything more to this brush. I'm just gonna take, this is the brush I use for foundation today, and I'm just gonna go back over this spot that I was cleaning. Okay, and for under the eye, I'm gonna go back in with the shade Rushed, and this is the Refer 03 pencil. Try and tap that off well. And for inner corner highlight today, I'm going to go in with Tiara. And I wiped the pencil brush off. I'm going back in with that. And just dragging a little bit under the eyes as well. Just the residues going under the arch. Okay, I am going to add some eyeliner and mascara, and I will be back. So this is the final eye look up close. I added the Chantecaille Luster Silk Glide, whatever, eyeliner in Raven, and the, what mascara is this? The Tarte's Light Cameras Lashes mascara, which I'm using a sample of. All right, so this is the final look for today from afar. So I really like these colors. I mean, they're probably not colors I would wear every day, but you know, I think they're fun. I really like blues and purples, and you know, I really like the shimmer on them. This Beauregarde shade in the middle, I really like the shift on those. And I think Tiara is a really beautiful color. So far I am really enjoying these. Okay, so I'm going to test out the Sydney Grace blush in Daydream. And this is what it looks like here on my hand. So it's really, you know, kind of like a nude, peachy rose, dusty rose kind of color. It's a little coppery. So let's see how that blends in. Might be a little dark for what I usually go for, but I think that gives a nice sheen there. So I'm going to test it out with the Sonia G Soft Cheek. Just tap that off. All right, so there it is. It's actually like a coppery peachy shade. It's a nice shade. It's not quite perfect on me. I think it's a little bit warmer tone than what I would prefer, but I can see this looking really nice on other people. And it doesn't look bad. It just, you know, it's a little different than I expected. Before I applied this, I did apply the Surratt Rose Diamante highlight underneath the Givenchy Teint City Balm. So you can see a little bit of that highlight peeking through here. I applied it here, like on my cheeks, just kind of playing around. And then I set it with the Givenchy Prisma Libre powder. And yeah, so overall though, you know, you can see a little bit of the highlight here, but you can also see back here, there is a definite sheen to the blush. And yeah, I'd say it's a coppery, peachy shade with a hint of a dusky rose kind of mixed in. You know, it's not straight peach or copper, but it's a nice shade. Just a little bit, just a little not perfect for me. So the blush applied very smoothly though. Okay, so today I'm going to play around with some purple and green shadows, and we're going to start off with this matte shade called Officer. And I am using the Sonia G Crease 1 brush, and I applied the Guerlain Eye Stay Primer. So I'm putting this just below the crease at the moment. And It's a little bit darker than I thought, so I'm gonna kind of leave it just like that for now and get a clean brush to kind of buff that in. So I'm taking the Rapper 15 brush with no product, and I'm just gonna kind of blend this out a bit. Smoothing it down the lid as well. Taking the brush I originally had, I'm just gonna apply a little bit more of that right here. I'm not adding any additional shadow to the brush. Just gonna blend a little more. Okay, I'm gonna take the shade You Only Better and the Sonia G Soft Shader, and I'm going to apply this to the inner portion of my eye. Wiping off the brush, I'm gonna go into Four Winds, and I'm just gonna apply a little bit of that right next to it. Okay, now I'm moving in with the Esom W21 and the shade Midnight Green. And I'm just gonna apply a little bit of this right next to the purple here. And I'm leaving the very outer edge. And then I'm just tapping the residual part of the brush right there. So I kind of have like a steep line there still. And wiping off that brush, I'm going into another green. This is slightly brighter. This is called Palm Trees. And I think I'll shade this out a little bit today. Going back in with the Rapper 15 brush, I'm just gonna kind of blend this a little bit. All right, so I am going to go in with the shade Tiara just with my finger. This is super, super creamy, and I'm just going to tap a little bit over the purple and green where they meet. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to add some black liquid eyeliner. This is from Swatch. And then I'll be back to finish the lower eyelashes and the inner corner. Okay, so for inner corner highlight, I am using the Sonia G Flat Definer, and I'm going back into the shade Tiara. Now I'm getting a little bit on the tip of the brush, and I am going to drag this under the lower lash line about halfway. All right, now I'm going back into You Only Better, same brush, just the tip, and just kind of going over that gold, but slightly underneath it to about the midway point. Wiping off the brush, going into Palm Trees, again, same brush, just the tip, and going under the rest of it. And kind of blending the green and the purple a little bit there. I feel like the purple got a little lost, so I'm just gonna get a little more on the tip and go back over that part. So this is the final eyeshadow look. I will go and add mascara. I'll be right back. Okay, so mascara is on, and this is the final eye look. I'll probably add some highlighter under the arch after I do my brows, but that is it. So you can see the glistening of these shadows. They definitely all have a shimmer. These purples are really metallic, and the green and the tiara, they really shimmer beautifully. Okay, so this is the final look from afar. Okay, so I have the Guerlain Eye Stay Primer on, and I'm going to start off with Cool Brown and the Sonia G Classic Crease Brush, and just kind of dust this into my crease. Using the same brush, I'm going to go into Frosted Morning and put this in the crease as well, and just try and stay a little lower. I'm going to do the outer corner with the residue. So next I'm going to try using Duraline. This is the Inglot Duraline, and I'm just gonna pour a little bit on a plate. So I'm using 2 drops. And then I am going to go into the shade Gold Earth. And I'm gonna mix this on the plate, so give me a second. All right, so this is the Rephr number 2 brush. And I'm going to apply this to the inner third. Now that the brush is already wet, I just went into the powder again to get a little bit more. Okay, I wiped my brush off, but I'm still going to use the other side of it anyway, and I'm getting that damp with some Duraline as well. And I am going to go into this shade Herky Bird. All right, so moving on, I'm going to use the shade Defiance, and I'm switching to a smaller brush. This is the Sonia G Pencil Pro. I'm going to dampen this with the Duraline as well. And I'm going to add this to the outer corner. Using the same brush, I am applying some of this shade to the tip, and I'm going under the lashes. Okay, so I am using the same brush. I wiped it off, but I did go back into the Duraline, and I'm taking the Frosted Morning, and I'm going to add a little bit here to the inner corner and drag that under a little. Okay, now I'm going back in with the Sonia G Classic Crease that I used in the beginning. I'm not adding any shadow. I'm just going to try to blend the crease area a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the shade Velvet, which is basically a white. And this is the Rephr 23 brush. It's a really, really tiny pencil brush. I'm just swirling this in here. I'm going to add the tiniest dab right to the very inner corner. And then I'm going to add a little bit under the brow arch here. Okay, so this is the final look for the eyeshadow. I am going to add some eyeliner and mascara and finish my makeup. I'll be back to show you the final look. Okay, so this is the final eye look for today. And I added on, just on the upper lashes, I added the Chantecaille Luster Glide Silk Infused Eyeliner in Black Forest, which is a green. And I layered that with the same type of eyeliner, but the shade Amethyst. So it's a little, you can see a little purple right by the lash line there. And I added a little bit of the Amethyst just down there, right against the waterline, not on it. And that was just like the inner third part. So other than that, I added the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes Mascara. So that's everything for today. Okay, so if you made it through these eye looks, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope they were helpful and you could get a better gauge of what the colors look like. So I would love to see you guys in my next video. If you like this, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much and have a great, safe, and healthy day.